Hey, I'm Hunt, and this is Hunt on LSU, your channel for LSU Fighting Tiger football talk. Enjoy the video. We want you to leave a comment below, hit that like button, and subscribe right below the video. Enjoy. Tigers are on the practice field today for the first of 15 spring workouts. There's going to be, it's not like fall camp. You're going to have a day off tomorrow. You're going to have a day off on Friday. They're going to pause for spring break in the middle of this whole thing. This is a very spread out situation, and we know that you're not talking about quite as frenetic a pace as you see in August. This is a time where you got new coordinators kind of getting their fingerprints on this team. You've got early enrollee freshmen who are going to have their heads spinning. You've got a lot of changes over there, and this is a time to kind of get everybody on the same page and moving forward towards the 2024 season. So I'm going to spend about 10 minutes here on the offense, then I'll spend about 10 minutes on the defense before we get to Glenn West at the bottom of the hour. You know, usually when you look at spring workouts and you have the Heisman Trophy winner at quarterback moving on and a player who's never been a full-time starter moving in as the starting quarterback, that would be the number one storyline on the offensive side of the ball. To me, it's really not in the spring. I mean, yeah, when we get to Vegas and you got USC on the other sideline, like all eyes on Nuss. I'm with you there. But for this spring, because of the bowl game, because he's been in the program for 3 years, we kind of know what Garrett Nussmeier is. Now, he's got to pick up what Joe Sloan wants to do as a play caller, and we'll see what Cortez Hankton kind of implements from a passing game perspective. But I don't expect to learn a heck of a lot about Garrett Nussmeier in this spring. He's moving into his fourth year in the program. He played very, very well in the bowl game. He's played against Georgia in the SEC championship game. He's played against Alabama in Tuscaloosa, albeit those weren't great circumstances to enter the game. But we kind of know a lot about Garrett Nussmeier. That's not on my top 2 or 3 list of things to watch in the spring on offense. Instead, I'll look at the center battle. The headlines on this LSU offensive line are the tackles. That's Will Campbell, who's voted by many as the best returning tackle in college football. Emory Jones, who's in that discussion. You're talking about bookends there, entering their third year as starters that should be a strength of the team. And you return Miles Frazier, which is fantastic. And Garrett Dellinger is back, which is fantastic. And the assumption is that DJ Chester is the guy at center. That's a little bit new. Now, in a perfect world, your center is the elder statesman. He's the most cerebral guy out there. He's got the experience. He's got reps with the starting quarterback. He's setting the protections. He's kind of running the show. I kind of have a hard time believing that's going to be the case for DJ Chester. Maybe it is. I don't know. I'm not in the meeting rooms with DJ Chester. I don't know. But I feel like Will Campbell, Emory Jones, Garrett Dellinger, and Miles Frazier have a pretty good handle on what Brad Davis wants to do and how this thing runs. So it's kind of like just plugging the new guy at the front of the class. And no, we're not going to learn everything we need to know about DJ Chester at this point, or whether or not there's another guy that could swoop in there and take that spot. But I think the indication is that's where things are headed. And LSU's offensive line needs to be great next year. In the same way that I think Joe Burrow made that offensive line look as fantastic as it was. And look, that 19 offensive line, Deculus has played in the NFL. You've seen Damian Lewis play in the NFL. You've seen Sadiq Charles play in the NFL. Like, they were very good. I don't mean to suggest that was a terrible offensive line that Joe Burrow propped up. He made them look a little bit better, and I think the same goes for Jayden Daniels last year. LSU got some recognition for the Joe Moore Award. They were recognized as one of the best offensive lines in college football, but I would suggest that there were some times where they weren't fantastic. LSU could not run the football at Florida State at all. Could not run it at all. Jayden Daniels accounted for the entirety of the rushing attack. They really struggled to move the football on the ground against Alabama. Jayden basically had to do all of that. Yeah, I thought they were great against Ole Miss. Thought they were awesome against Missouri. Thought they were very, very good against Florida, although Jayden helps you out with 50 and 75-yard runs. But I think LSU needs to run the football better. And the running game's got to look different, because you can't rely as much on the quarterback's legs. You need the running backs to handle that load. And that kind of dovetails into the next piece where I pivot from the offensive line and how important that is, specifically what happens at center, moving on from Charles Turner. And I look to the running back spot, and I go, okay, well, they had 8 last year. Amani Goodwin's gone. Trey Bradford's gone. Trey Holly's suspended. Logan Diggs left. Josh Williams is hurt. It's basically the Caleb Jackson show this spring, and I think that's awesome. Because while there are a lot of guys I could argue don't need a ton of reps in the spring, I don't think Major Burns needs to do a hell of a lot in the spring. I don't think Will Campbell or Emory Jones needs to do a ton in the spring. They kind of know the lay of the land. I wouldn't suggest the same for Caleb Jackson. While you can immediately recall highlight reel plays Caleb Jackson made, whether it was against Wisconsin with that zigzagging touchdown in the red zone, whether it was against Mississippi State getting out wide and dump trucking that guy. The highlights are there. But he had 13 total carries after October 1st. Brian Kelly made it abundantly clear, Logan Diggs and Josh Williams, the veteran guys, that's who we're going to lean on. And they did. But that's going to change this year because while I think Josh Williams comes back and is a key part to what LSU does in the running game, Caleb Jackson's got the upside that we've been talking about now for over a year. He's the biggest. He's the fastest. He's the strongest. Fastest until Caden Durham shows up. And he's going to get these 15 practices almost to himself. And I love that. The running game is where I'm most interested in this spring. It's not replacing 2 first-round receivers in the Heisman Trophy winner. Although that is interesting. Kyron Lacey, interesting, moving up to number 1. Chris Hilton staying healthy, interesting as well. There are some pieces to the pass game that are interesting, but to me, I expect that to be pretty good because I have trust in Garrett Nussmeier, I have trust in Joe Sloan and Cortez Hankton, and I think that LSU's got enough talent at wide receiver to make that work. Does it look exactly like Neighbors and Thomas? No, that's asking a bit much. But I think they'll be good. The running game needs to get better than it was. There's a piece of that that's the center. There's a piece of that that's the running back, and I'm excited to start scratching that potential that Caleb Jackson has. Because I think there's a lot of it. And I think when they arrive in Vegas to take on USC in that first game, that there will be a running game that looks different than it did last year. Last year, you had a crutch. How creative do you really need to be with Daniels back there? He does the read option. Maybe your left tackle blocks the end. Maybe he whips him. Doesn't matter. Jayden Daniels jukes him, gets out, and gets 12 yards. That's not all that creative. That's just a dude who makes plays. Goes back to that Kirby Smart sound, which is, it's not about plays, it's about players. But the plays need to be better too. And if LSU is going to accomplish goals, which to me, starting now at the start of spring practice, is 10-2 playoff. That's Hunt's goal for the team. I'm sure over there, it's take care of the next practice and all eyes on USC. Sure, whatever. I talk on the radio for a living, so I'm going to go ahead and be a little bit more detailed. Get me to 10-2 in the playoff. If you do better than that, great. Do worse than that, that's falling short. But that goal is going to require LSU to run the ball in big games far better than they did last year. You lost to Alabama, you lost to Florida State, and you didn't run the ball well in either one of those games. I think a lot of that was on the offensive line, and some of that was on the backs. And some of it was on the offensive coordinator. Got to get better, and I'll be curious as, we're not going to learn massive sweeping running game changes going out to practice for 25 minutes or seeing in the spring game, but it's worth asking questions about. Beat reporters going, hey, what's a little different with Joe Sloan calling some plays in the run game? What does that look like? And I think you get good answers from Will Campbell, Garrett Nussmeier, Brad Davis, Caleb Jackson about that. Not to the play, but we're going to do some things a little bit more differently than we did last year. And see what kind of answers you can get on that. It's a little bit of talking season. Guys aren't quite as tight as they would be heading into a game. So the running game to me is chief among the interesting pieces to this LSU spring practice. They fire things up today. No media access today, so don't expect any practice reports or videos coming out from media members. LSU will probably put something out with their video team. But there will be access for the media on Thursday, and then we'll kind of move forward with these 15 workouts for LSU as they get ready for year 3 under Brian Kelly. Hey, thanks for watching Hunt on LSU. Before you get out of here, do us a couple of favors. Hit that like button, leave your comments below, and subscribe to the channel for all your Fighting Tiger football talk. See you next time.